All right. So moving on, it's Brent and Greg at the movies at home. And this week we're reviewing Cherry. Tom Holland stars as Cherry in the aptly named film Cherry, directed by Joe and Anthony Russo. Cherry is a college dropout who becomes an army medic and develops PTSD in Iraq while his wife, Emily, Ciara Bravo, awaits his return at home. After returning home, Cherry struggles with PTSD and is prescribed oxycodone to deal with his physical and mental pain. Cherry and Emily progress to heroin addicts and continue to be able to pay his dealer pills and coke, played by Jack Rayner, and his mysterious overlord, Black. Cherry returns to a life of crime, robbing banks. Eventually, things go sideways and Cherry lands in prison for a 13-year bid. The movie ends on a hopeful note when Cherry, having gotten clean of prison, is being picked up by Emily, who looks as though she has also kicked the drugs. What did you think, Brenton?
This is the worst movie we've reviewed. And it's not even close. And I am here to tell you that I wasn't particularly enthralled by the idea of Tom Holland playing my beloved Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie. And I am, at this point, mortified because I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to raise this question. And I told Bob Sacamano that I'd be coming out with hot takes left and right in this episode. Shamrock Shake sucks. Write it down. Here's hot take number 2. I don't think Tom Holland's a good actor. I think that he works as Spider-Man because he's goofy. Like, he's like a goofy kid, basically. He's like a goofy kid, which is exactly what Peter Parker is in high school, right? Every other movie he's in, the highest Rotten Tomatoes score is like a 60. This movie has a 22.
Yeah.
So I think we need to start asking ourselves the question, is Tom Holland actually a good actor? He's just not believable in this role. I have a lot of problems with this movie, but it kind of starts and ends with him. He's like being portrayed as this bank robber / army medic, whatever. He's just not believable in literally any of those roles. The only time that he was believable in this movie was at the beginning when he was like the shy college kid. Mm-hmm. And you have the girl, Ciara Bravo, who's playing his girlfriend and then wife, Emily. She looked like she was 12. She's entire movie. She looked like she was 12 the whole movie. Those are problems A and B. I guess I don't have a problem with her looking like she's 12. It's just a statement of fact. Bad casting. Next set of problems. What movie are you making? Are you making like a Dazed and Confused, or we're strung out on drugs and all this stuff? Are you making an army movie? Are you making a war movie? Because there was quite a few scenes that dealt with that. Are you making a heist movie? Like this, they tried to make 3 or 4 movies out of one movie. I didn't like that sometimes he talked to the camera like he was breaking the fourth wall, and sometimes he didn't. Like when it would make sense for him to do that. I don't think he did that throughout the entire portion of the movie where he was in Iraq or Afghanistan. I can't remember which one it was. It was just unfocused. It was unfocused for me. It seemed like they were trying to play with themes and colors and chapters, and we're going to break it down. And he's talking to the camera, but he's not talking to the camera. It made like the synopsis of the movie beforehand made it seem like, okay, he's going to be dealing with PTSD. And I actually thought the scenes where he was like dealing with the PTSD was pretty close to home. And I thought that those were probably the best scenes of the movie, because I thought that actually made sense within the timeline, made sense with what they were trying to portray, made sense with the overall tone of the movie. But then he's like robbing banks with this, dollar. I have a gun. This is a robbery. And he allegedly pulled that move off like 15 times. Is that believable? I don't know. Maybe it is. I've never robbed a bank. This made it seem awfully easy, though. I will say that. No, I was really bummed out because like I like Tom Holland, and this was directed by the Russo brothers. Of course, most famous probably for doing the Avengers movies and then the second two Captain America movies. This was a big miss for me, and it really has me questioning. Like I said, questioning, or at least we need to start asking ourselves the question: is Tom Holland actually a good actor? Because here's the thing: Tom Holland, in my opinion, Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man we've gotten.
Yes.
Mark Hamill's the best Luke Skywalker we've gotten, and Daniel Radcliffe is the best Harry Potter we've gotten. Do you see a trend here? Those guys never played anything else.
Well, Daniel Radcliffe I will say like he's really known for doing like theater and like
Stage
he's won
stuff,
theater
right.
Stage stuff. So I'll give him that.
Right.
Right. And
Matthew Perry is the best
acting.
Chandler Bing we've gotten.
Yeah.
Chandler Bing.
Chandler.
Oh my God.
So
Chandler Bing.
I will go on this direction too, that this is based off a novel, but it's like almost like a semi-autobiographical novel by Nico Walker. And the storyline is, I looked this up after watching the movie, is pretty much this. It is the storyline from the book. This guy and the author himself actually went through all this, went through a lot of this. He went to the army, had PTSD, and he did rob 10 banks in the Cleveland area.
Okay.
And then
that was the other thing we did.
So this is like sort of based on like an actual thing. The thing about this movie is
porn stash at the end.
Maybe that was funny with the caterpillar.
It was filmed in Cleveland. Shout out.
There you go. I mean, it probably is of the movies. It probably is the worst movie we reviewed. I didn't hate it as much as you did. It really bummed me the fuck out though. This was not this was not something that the army would ever use as an ad for the army, and this does not ever make you want to do heroin. Two things I never wanted to do anyhow, but my God, like
one of them. But I'm going to leave that ambiguous.
Not for me, but it really bummed me out. Like when they're really actually like when they decided, and he actually was like, "Oh, we decided we're going to be junkies," and they just go ahead and do that. That like totally bummed me out. You know, I will agree. Like Tom Holland is kind of this weird thing where it's like I was making Spider-Man jokes the entire time. Like whenever they were like in class or whatever, it was like, oh, the next scene is when he gets bit by a spider.
Right.
You know, stuff like that, which we never actually see in his Spider-Man movies. But you know, he's not. This is maybe the thing I want to go into. Is it because he's Spider-Man and he's the perfect Spider-Man that he's kind of casted this shadow over himself that no matter what he does, maybe for a while, he can probably only be Spider-Man? This might be the larger question than like whether the movie's, you know, good or bad or whatever. It's that, is it possible that he like actually does a performance and you're like, holy crap, that was great? Or is it just that, well, he's Spider-Man, he's, you know, Peter Parker trying. I think it's a tough thing.
I feel like it even took Robert Pattinson a while to break out of the Twilight thing. But here's the difference. I've seen enough movies with Robert Pattinson to know he's a good actor.
Right.
Tom hasn't given that to us. I like Tom Holland. He's a great kid. He's bad with spoilers. Here's my thing is like you saying, you know, it bummed me out and this and that. It's like, well, you know what? $1 Million Baby bums me out. $1 Million Baby is the most depressing movie I've ever seen. Like seriously, it's the most depressing movie I've ever seen. I remember watching it with my dad whenever it came out, and we had it on DVD. And at the end, I was just like, "Oh, okay. I guess I'll go make a sandwich or something." Now, oh man! But guess what? It was good. It was an actual good movie. It won awards. Clint Eastwood.
Sure.
You know, I think it was. She won Best Actress, Hilary Swank.
Yeah.
I think Clint won something. I think it was. I mean, it was nominated for Best Picture. And I know mainstream media awards, whatever. It was a good movie. Cherry, on the other hand, was
what I'll say on like your point is it was disjointed, Like, I understand they were trying to do the theme of, like, and they were just trying to do something different, I think, in the sense of, like, prologue, chapters, all this stuff, which I understood that to some degree in what they were trying to do. And, I will say, like, I didn't mind this movie at the end of it. Actually, we watched it in 2 parts because we watched it late last night and then today. And maybe that helped it. Maybe if I watched it all in one sitting, I'd feel like more towards your edge. I'd say I'm 50-50 on it because sometimes I feel like
2 parts as well, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably like 50-50 on it. Like, he's not what I want him to be as an actor, but I think sometimes, and this is mostly just, I think, because in a way, I always kind of, I think these movies need to come out every once in a while, is that thing with PTSD. And maybe that's where I'm at, where I think there needs to be a thing where that is actually real. It's kind of the whole thing of with maybe like, mental disorders in general, where people don't necessarily think that there's something and you need something to kind of shine the light on it. So I think that's where I'll give it like the positive spin of like shining the light on something that actually is serious. And it sounds weird, but with everybody, with COVID stuff going on, people forget that like other things still exist.
Right.
And I on that spin of things, it's like there's still other problems out there that people still need to deal with and need to take care of. And that's maybe where I'll go with this. I'm kind of interested in reading this book if it is more of like a semi-autobiographical book mixed with fiction. The bank robbery thing, if that's actually what he did and that's what he did, then whatever.
Yeah, sure.
That is what it is. I thought the thing that was just so a little outlandish to me, it was just like the guy that was his pills guy was just so like always saying you
pills
junkie.
Pills
and Coke.
That was his
always
name.
calling him, just always calling him you junkie. And that kind of that grew a little tired for me. But I don't know if we're doing rent by or pass or whatever. I'm in between like renting and passing. Like, don't watch this movie at all if you're like sad at all. Like, if you don't you'll die watching this. And don't expect like some amazing performance either. But if you kind of just want a movie that
isn't good.
I mean, it does tell a story. I will say that there is like an actual storyline to it, but it's not the greatest story in the world. I would not have paid money. Like, if I paid money and saw this in theater, I probably really kind of upset.
Well, this is one of those things because it's on Apple.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot on Apple.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's Ted Lasso, there's Palmer, there's The Morning Show, and then there's this. There might be a few other things. I think there's like a documentary about how Billie Eilish goes to the Goodwill to pick out her wardrobe.
Yes, there is that.
I thought so. Yeah. But with that being said, if I weren't watching Ted Lasso right now, I wouldn't have Apple. So for me, it's a pass. This isn't something you want to go out of your way for. It's not like where HBO Max has these huge movies coming up and you have to see them. You know what I mean? And it's not like this was like a huge movie. It's not like this was like, oh my God, everybody go see Cherry. There wasn't like a huge media push. I wonder, as you said, with the PTSD thing, because I've worked in mental health and human services for the last decade plus, and I see people with PTSD all the time, that it just didn't have the same effect on me as it probably had with you. Just because on a daily basis, I'm
you're dealing with it. Yeah.
Dealing with it. In my day job. But I digress. For me, it's a pass. Like I said, this was, in my opinion, the worst movie that we've reviewed so far. But the good news for Cherry is that on the docket for the rest of the summer is some contenders.
There are some tough competition coming forward.
Watch the throne, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
So, and this has been another Brenton and Greg at the Movies at Home review. Cherry, pass for me. I'll pass it.
I'll say pass.
Pass it like
too,
Steve Nash,
just because I don't want people to pay for it and get mad.
Yeah, pass it like Steve Nash.